Good morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm your moderator, John North. John Becker is away. My dad used to say when it came to opportunity, you snooze, you lose. And the Knoxville Chamber says perhaps Knoxville will be in that position if it's not careful. It has just put out a paper and sort of a roadmap as to how Knoxville could be looking at conquering the imagination age. Mike Odom is our guest this morning. He is the Knoxville Chamber CEO. He'll be talking to us about all this. But before we get to that, and welcome Mike, but before we get to that, let's introduce our regular panelists. We've got Susan Richardson Williams. She is a Republican and runs her own PR company. Welcome, Susan.
Good morning, John. Good
morning. And Don Bosch, a Democrat and an attorney. Welcome, sir. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you, John.
So, Mike, we appreciate you being on. It's an important topic, and it's one which probably a lot of people haven't really been thinking about or focusing on, but the Chamber says you better do it because there are competitors out there right now who are already beating us in terms of the future and what the future is going to look like, and we had just better get on the stick. Can you hit some of the high points in terms of what the Chamber thinks we should be doing and thinking about right now? Because there are some specific areas.
Absolutely. You know, to put it in perspective, we are now on the precipice of the next industrial revolution. So we are leaving the digital age and transitioning into the imagination age. And Knoxville, the city of Knoxville, Knox County, is really positioned to do well, but we're really not taking advantage of those positions. And so this work, the issue brief that you referenced, is really a call to action for the community, call to action for us, our partners, to say we need to focus on four things. And first is high growth companies. We need those companies that have the potential to really grow in this next industrial age. Second, we need high worth talent. We need that talent that is really going to grow the average annual pay, which is a really true marker for what a community does in terms of its prosperity. Three is innovative startups. So we've really been working as a community on our entrepreneurial ecosystem, but we have a long way to go, and we need to continue that progress. And then four is attractive civic furniture, and it's those things that want to keep people here and not go to other communities and want them to stay here and work and live.
We want to dive into all that stuff. Susan, you're going to start.
Yeah, Knoxville is known as a government town. We've got TVA, we have UT, we have Oak Ridge in our area, and they're very helpful in times of an economic downturn because they're stable and they do provide, by and large, good pay. But what you're talking about is different from that. And one of the things I noticed in your report, you compared us to Raleigh, North Carolina. So talk about what Raleigh's done that we haven't done and need to do in the future.
Sure, and to your point, Susan, absolutely, with as usually is referred to as the big three,
right,
is a great backstop. The amount of assets they bring to our community are innumerable. However, the same time that we won't have that downturn, we're also limited on the upside. So, which is another problem. And, you know, it's got us good, but we want to be great, and that's what this work does. So what Raleigh has done, you know, when they came out of the textile slump, that was their kind of rock bottom moment. And typically, Knoxville will not have a rock bottom moment because of those things that you're mentioning. And what Raleigh's been able to do is to focus on their education, especially in the post-secondary. They've looked at the industries that are really going to grow, and they've supported them in a number of ways, whether it be most people talk about the Research Triangle Park. You got to have that infrastructure for them. They've done a great job of aligning their post-secondary degrees with those industries. They've nurtured their entrepreneurial community. And one area that we're really looking at, they have grown significantly from a population standpoint, but have yet to see a lot of the same struggles that similar communities who have had that kind of exponential growth have witnessed. And so they have really done a very good job of growing, but growing and maintaining that growth to not upset other things.
Mike, on that very note, I think John and I last week, and Susan, you may have been part of the discussion, we're talking, it seems that the younger high-tech population, post-secondary folks, 22 to 35, really are leaving Knoxville in numbers more than we've seen. And I know you touched on things to keep people here, but what do you think? Is it really that we don't have the civic furniture, as you put it, or is it the lack of jobs? We have the jobs, obviously, even if they're in the public sector, that pay well, ORNL, Y12, TVA. But what is causing those folks to leave? And how do we keep a diverse and educated minority population in this community as well?
So starting with the first question.
Sure.
So to your point, in the analysis, we talk about the fact that the 25 to 54 age demographic, which is the key. These are the folks who fill jobs, start companies, start families. We have only grown in the last 2 years, where we've seen significant population growth since the beginning of COVID, by 3.3%. Meanwhile, Nashville, over 14%. Durham, not including Raleigh, 20%. Raleigh itself, 20%. So to your point, Don, that is a major issue for us. And for the Chamber, it is our number one concern, that we are losing that young population. Meanwhile, 55 plus, we're growing at an almost 30% rate. So we're getting older, and we're getting older faster. So a couple things on that front. Our belief in doing research is that the reason we are losing them, while we do have a lot of jobs, the question is, do we have the right jobs? Do we have the jobs that they want to fill? And two, are they the jobs that align with the degrees that they're earning? So for instance, at University of Tennessee, the #1 degree program year in, year out is supply chain management. They graduate anywhere from 350 to 400 students a year. We don't have 350 to 400 supply chain jobs that need a college education. And so it's just a matter of supply outpacing demand. The second piece of that is that civic furniture. Do we have what they want that is interesting to them, that makes them want to stay and pulls on them? So if they have an offer and a job offer from here versus Nashville versus Atlanta versus Charlotte, are they going to be willing to give that up to be able to stay? And we don't think they are. The third part of that is the diversity, and that last piece is really connected to it. In talking to younger professionals who are more, brown and different sexual orientation, their big thing is there's no one here for me to date. Well, that's a number problem, right? And so we need more people here, because then they'll find everything that we look for when we were that age and be
A social life.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I hear from my law students that are from different backgrounds.
Yes.
There's just nothing for us to do.
Right.
It is a challenge that we will dig a little bit more into. We're going to take a break right now. You're watching Inside Tennessee. We're going to be back in about a minute or two.